Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, committee members. My name is Colin Meehan. I'm with Environmental Defense Fund. I'm here to testify for the bill. First, I actually want to just address a few issues that have come up in the recent testimony. As Mr. Fainer pointed out, the original RPS was created in 1999, which led to the development of wind resources above and beyond what the actual goal was that was set, and we expect the same thing to happen with this piece of legislation. And while the production tax credit may have contributed to that, we actually feel that a lot of it had to do with the decline in cost from wind production. Okay, as long as it wasn't me.
I don't know where that came from.
I thought maybe that was the hook to bring me off already. Yeah.
That woke everybody up.
All right. And with regards to the impact that wind has had on the market, I think it's important to recognize that the Public Utilities Commission has pointed out a number of times that wind has actually had the impact of lowering the wholesale price of electricity in Texas. So while this program puts forward an incentive to renewable energy generation, it also has the impact of lowering wholesale costs. In particular with the non-wind RPS, because it's so focused on resources like solar, geothermal, and biomass, those provide low-cost and zero-cost electricity during the middle of the day when prices are highest. So I just wanted to clarify that a little bit for the members of the committee. Let's see. One of the biggest discussions that's been going on in the last year has been resource adequacy in ERCOT and at the PUC, and there's a strong concern that we may not have enough electricity to keep the lights on this summer and in the next few summers. I wanted to point out, as Chairman Anchia mentioned, ERCOT has publicly thanked the wind industry 2 times for helping make sure that we can keep the lights on, first during the rolling blackouts of February 2011, and then during the summer, the record heat waves of February 2011. Both of those times, wind power performed as predicted and helped maintain electric reliability. Solar power, geothermal, and biomass power would contribute toward that goal as well. The most recent ERCOT studies have shown that we're likely to fall short of our reserve margin this summer by 0.5%. The reserve margin is intended to provide a buffer to make sure that we have enough resources to keep the lights on. And that study shows we'll fall below it this summer by 0.5%, next summer by almost 3%. The capacity that would be added as a result of this bill, 2%, would contribute towards meeting and maintaining that reserve margin and that reliability. So I want to make sure that people understand that's the reason we feel this bill is important for Texas, in addition to the environmental and economic benefits that it brings. In these discussions, a lot of times the issue of cost and cost to customers comes up, as the Vice Chair mentioned. That's a very important thing to all of us, how much it's going to cost retail customers, whether they be large industrial customers or small, residential, commercial customers. There are a number of different ways to look at and approach these costs, but in 2010, the PUC developed a model to assess these costs that's broadly recognized as accurate and impartial. A number of groups have come to the PUC and to the legislature to talk about how these impact customers in different ways. Using the PUC's approach and looking at the current bill that Representative Anchia has put before the committee, we estimate the cost to be approximately 50 cents a month to residential customers. In a worst-case scenario, that is if solar is more expensive than it is today. So if we hit what are called the alternative compliance payments, which are a sort of relief valve, that's how much it would cost residential customers. People that have discussed this issue before have put forward a broad range of costs to different types of customers. One group that's often been focused on are the schools like Houston ISD, which has put forward their electric bills as part of their public effort to conserve and save energy. Estimates from other groups that are opposed to this bill have ranged between $800,000 to $80,000 a year for more or less the same approach, the same policy approach. And not only are these estimates inconsistent, they're inaccurate and incorrect for 2 primary reasons. One, they don't take into account the rapidly declining costs in solar. According to Bloomberg New Energy Finance, the price of solar modules dropped 75% over the last 3 years. The installed cost of solar from 2009 to 2011 dropped 35% according to the Lawrence Berkeley National Labs, and another 20% by the end of 2012 for a total of a 50% cut in the installed cost of solar. Recently announced Macho Springs project with El Paso Electric in New Mexico cost 5.9 cents per kilowatt hour, and that's less than a new coal, nuclear, or natural gas power plant would cost, according to the Energy Information Administration. The other reason those other analyses that estimate very high costs are wrong is they often don't take into account this alternative compliance payment, this relief valve that makes sure customers aren't inconvenienced or this legislation doesn't raise costs for them too much. And I think it's important that as we talk about these different costs, we come at it from a perspective that we can all agree on, and that's based on a factual analysis using current prices of solar and geothermal and solar, geothermal, and biomass power, in particular with solar power because prices have dropped so rapidly. I'll just conclude by saying that there are a number of companies in the oil and gas industry, in the technology industries, in the consumer electronics industries that have begun to get involved in the solar market in the U.S. and internationally. A recent report by Citigroup identified 4 major U.S. solar companies that they recommend as a buy for people that are interested in getting into the solar market. So this is a United States product. It's a domestic product. It's one we can be proud of, and it's one that we can still attract here to Texas for economic development. I'll thank you for your time and be happy to answer any questions.
And we have a question.